So in this module, we're going to talk about tax and taxation and how it plays a role in your financial life. So before we jump into the topic in more detail, just a few disclaimers. So tax law is very complicated and it changes significantly over time. So some of the information I'm going to present to you is current as of 2022, but tax law changes all the time and there are things added and taken away. And so it will be worthwhile for you to check on the tax law before you act on anything you learn in this presentation because things could have changed. Also, this presentation is just very high level. It is by no means comprehensive, and there are a ton of tax strategies and different options for kind of ways that you can adjust your income tax reporting that could be available to you. So I'm hoping just to introduce certain concepts and topics, and hopefully it will kind of encourage you or pique your interest to do more research to figure out what is the best for you given your situation. And again, yes, so your situation may be unique, and there are likely strategies that I have not covered here that may be available to you. So, hopefully, again, this is just to give you an introduction to the topic and introduce some ways of thinking about taxation that hopefully will open up other doors of thinking to you. Also, nothing in this presentation should be taken as tax advice, so please seek out the opinion of a professional. This is just purely informational, and I do encourage you, especially if you have a larger tax liability and you own things like real estate or you've invested in private investments, to seek out the opinion of a professional who can help you strategize your taxes. Okay, so let's just talk very basically about what taxation is. So taxes are levied by various levels of government, okay, to finance their operations. So this key point about levels of government. So we're all likely familiar with the federal income tax, where you got to file a form to the federal government to pay taxes on your income. But taxation happens at all levels, not just federal. So the state, in California, we have, I think, the second highest state income tax. And the state also, they have a corporate tax. There's income tax that is levied by the state, and so the state is collecting various forms of taxation. The county also is gonna potentially, if you own a property, for example, property tax, most of that goes to the county that you live in. And cities also can impose their own taxes. Uh, in California, it's mostly in the form of sales tax. So there's a state kind of minimum sales tax, and then cities and local jurisdictions can add on additional amounts on top of that to finance things like roads or whatever. So um, even local school districts, they can attach onto the property tax that a county levies and kind of add on an additional amount based on the school district getting the votes to build schools. There's bond measures. So all these different levels of government are imposing their own taxes, and they are funding their respective levels of government or community expenditure. So the county has, they run social programs, so they're using the money for that. The state obviously has a lot of programs it runs, and obviously the federal government. So all these taxes are used to kind of pay for all this. And so, what are the most common types of taxes you will pay? So I mentioned the income tax, and so there's a federal and a state in most states in income tax. There are some states that don't have income tax, but most states do. Property tax on real estate that you own, and so this is mostly county, but the city and local jurisdictions can add additional amounts on top of the county level of taxation to pay for its expenses. Payroll, Social Security, Medicare. So these are basically taken out of people's paychecks, and typically it's for the federal and state levels. And Medicare is a federal program. Social Security is a federal program. And the payroll tax, there's a federal part, and I think the states run their own kind of unemployment insurance. So you're paying into that. So that's kind of where the state component comes in. Sales tax. So as I mentioned, the state and the county, and actually even local. I should have put that local is also in there. Excise tax on fuel. So in California, approximately 80 cents per gallon are excise tax on fuel. So that's just amount that the government, federal and state, are adding on, and it doesn't include, there's some other fees that are added on. So 80 cents is just the tax from federal and state for fuel. And so as you can see, in many shapes and forms, we are paying taxes. It's not just the income tax that we think of. We're getting taxed in many different ways. And so I think it's good as citizens to be aware of this and to realize that we actually do end up spending quite a bit of our income on taxes. And a lot of these taxes are actually regressive, meaning people that are lower income end up paying a larger portion of their income. For example, sales tax. The amount of tax that a person pays if they're low income and sales tax is going to be a higher percentage than a higher income person. So, though the income tax, which we're going to talk about, is progressive, meaning people that earn more pay more, some of these end up, kind of as regressive taxes, meaning lower income people end up paying a higher percentage of their income for some of these taxes.